Okay, so there's two stories that I'd like to cover at the moment. The first one is a segment that I saw called Papers at the end of BBC News. Clive Myrie and other guests. Well, Clive Myrie is the anchorman, but he had guests on, and so I have to emphasise I only saw half of this interview, so I didn't see the entire context. But basically, they were discussing how the Sun newspaper has put a small acknowledgement. I'm not even going to call it an apology. A small acknowledgement in the left-hand corner, having been found that they have reported a false story, or yeah. I don't know the exact details of that because, like I said, I watched this interview halfway through and I can't seem to find much information about it online. But if this is true, it would just be consistent with what the Sun does. Well, I'm saying if it's true, this is what the Sun does. They make a small apology that is in no way proportionate to the original smear or the original mistake or the original misleading headline. And I think that's a complete disgrace. I completely agree with the discussion. Basically, what they do is they get together and discuss the country's leading newspapers and the headlines, what they're leading on, and so on. Now, some people might say it's biased because it's from the BBC, but bear in mind that it's only Clive Myrie representing the BBC. The other two were, I think, one was a politician and the other person was some other media person, but wasn't. We can't say it was all BBC people. Um, the point is, there is a long track record of arrogance from the tabloid press. Basically, they think they can lie about someone or make a misleading headline, distorting a situation. Not while back they were in hot water for saying that 25% of British Muslims support ISIS, which was misleading because it isn't quite that simple. But they have a long track record of doing this, and it's dangerous. Now, some people talk about freedom of expression, but I take the view that when you're a national newspaper, you have responsibility. Just like legislators, their free expression has consequences because it has an impact on other people. And it isn't just about opinions, it's about facts. So when they get the facts wrong, damn right they should be held to account. And I do believe that the apology should be in the big glaring headlines just as their original mistake. You know why? Number one, that would be fair. Number two, it would make them think twice because they would be forced to humiliate themselves. And, I don't care if that sounds spiteful. I do hate the tabloid press. I'm on record as saying that. I hate them. But to me, that's plain fairness. The apology should be in proportion to the original mistake. Now, if it's a genuine mistake, these things happen. It might be a dodgy source or whatever. But the thing about the tabloids, especially the Sun, very often it isn't a mistake. They know damn well what they're doing. Let's not forget this is a newspaper that continues to use paparazzo to get its photographs. Now, as far as I'm concerned, the paparazzi should be absolutely made illegal. They're just an odious. They're not journalists. They're basically licensed criminals. That's what they are. They're legalized stalkers. People say, "Oh, will celebrities bring it on themselves?" I'm sorry, but very, very few celebrities ask for a stalker to be outside the house in the middle of the night, or for a stalker to be taking pictures of the young children going to school. That's what the paparazzi do, and it is very different from the red carpet. Let's be very clear about that. So I do think that since phone hacking, a lot more could have been done in terms of holding these people to account. Look, I believe in a free press. I'm not calling for censorship, but I am calling for accountability. At the moment, there's no accountability because it still continues to be this arrogant mindset that they can do whatever they like. They are the gangsters of Fleet Street. And until someone stands up to them and says, no, you can't do this, then it's going to continue. I believe they should be legally obliged to put an apology as big as the original mistake. And if they don't do it, they should be fined. I firmly believe that. And that is not an attack on free speech. That is calling for basic fairness. Tabloid hacks behave like typical playground bullies who push around and shove around and shout and make their demands. But then when they fuck up, and they're criticized, they can't hack it. They can't handle it. They're just complete, as far as I'm concerned, they're cards. And I've nothing but contempt for what they do. So, yeah, I think post phone hacking, there needs to be much tougher legislation in order to hold newspapers to account, not to silence newspapers, because I accept they have a role to play. Tabloids have a role to play. They do report certain stories that broadsheets don't necessarily report. There has been certain types of investigative journalism that I'm not entirely against. But they also behave like arrogant bullies who always want their own way. That has to end.